Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City is here. Boom. All right. The text board is going nuts today there, Mike, as many people anticipating what could happen tonight in this one. And obviously, you know, you've been around the team a lot this year, and one of the biggest surprises, I guess, was the transformation we saw from Tobias Harris, from guy that's good regular season player to seemingly a guy who was taking that jump. He went from an indecisive, good player to a decisive player. It looked like a guy who had mentally taken a step. So is he maybe the biggest key for the next two games?
No, I think the biggest key is one Ben Simmons, but obviously Tobias Harris has a lot to play for, because I think last night he took a major step backwards in Game 5. For him to be making $33 million a year and only score 4 points, and for him and Doc Rivers to tell me that the reason he only took 11 shots and scored 4 points was because Seth Curry was hot is ridiculous. And Tobias Harris is one of the many Sixers whose legacy, how we feel about them as players, is on the line tonight and Sunday.
Did you get the sense from Tobias Harris that he was a little annoyed that they did not go through him, seemingly in that second half?
Well, I didn't get that sense that he was annoyed. I have a question. I have a hard time understanding, first of all, how the Philadelphia 76ers scored 19 points in the fourth quarter against a Atlanta Hawks team that had Trae Young, who might be the worst defensive player I've ever seen. Everything he does on the defensive end of the floor is wrong. Okay, he was out there in the fourth quarter. Lou Williams hasn't played defense since like 2004. Okay, he was out there. Danilo Gallinari couldn't guard a statue. He was out there. I heard you talking about Doc Rivers. How the Sixers couldn't call a set or run a pick and roll that got Tobias Harris matched against Lou Williams is just beyond me. And I put the blame on Tobias Harris. He took 11 shots. I'd feel better about him if he went 2 for 30 in a game. 2 for 11, 4 points is ridiculous. Yeah. One of the many ridiculous things to come out of Game 5.
Yeah, Mike, the baseline, 117 left in the game. Harris goes baseline. He throws it to Embiid. That told me all I needed to know about where Harris felt, in that game the other night. And Embiid's like, what are you passing it to me for? He throws it back to him, gets his shot blocked. That's the one that went out of bounds and they, took a look at. But that told me Harris did not want that moment right there. And this has been the playoffs for him. He's been very up and down. That's why I'm having trouble thinking all of a sudden in Game 6 he's going to flip the switch and become Tobias Harris that we saw in the 72-game regular season.
Well, we'll see, right? I mean, tonight, it's him. It's Simmons most of all. It's Doc Rivers. It's Daryl Morey. It's everybody connected with the Sixers is, kind of on the front lines tonight for this game. We will see how they respond to, adversity that they put themselves in.
Yeah. All right. Let's Ben Simmons obviously has a complete lack of confidence. And yesterday, Doc Rivers admitted that this is mental. He said, I'm acknowledging this is a mental situation, and he just needs to get past it. Ben says it is what it is, to quote some famous people who use that line. It is what it is, man. He said that 4 years ago. That quote has been going around now in 2017 when the Hack of Ben came out. And he says it is what it is. He's not. At this point, Doc Rivers has his hands tied, though, doesn't he?
Well, to a degree, but I mean, this is, what one thing is, and you mentioned what the Sixers say, the Sixers have to stop talking. They just have to stop talking. Everybody if I was the owner of the team, I would tell them, shut down Twitter, shut down, Instagram, shut down TikTok, no more team social media. They need to go down there and win tonight and then win on Sunday. The Ben Simmons thing is, in my mind, over. I mean, no matter what happens the rest of the way, the guy is 22 for 57 from the foul line, okay? He has taken 5 shots in the last 6 quarters. He has gotten worse in the fourth quarter of games since he's come into the league, not better. I don't want to hear from the Ben Simmons defenders, the analytics people, that when I go to a game and say, hey, Ben Simmons didn't play that well, and then they all tell me, but, he drives and kicks and he creates all these open threes and he creates these points. He's the point guard of a basketball team, and he's got to come out of the game in the fourth quarter in a close game because he doesn't want to shoot and he can't shoot foul shots. That's difficult to overcome.
How do we explain then? And I'm not saying that you're incorrect by any stretch. Everybody sees things. How do we explain how bad of a team they look when he doesn't play? They look completely discombobulated. The offense is stalled. It's out of whack.
Well, because he's the only guy on the team that in a regular season situation can get them into a set and run the offense. He is the team's best passer. He is the point guard. That's why it's so incredulous. It hurts even more when you have to take him out with 3.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, which, by the way, Doc Rivers told us all 2 weeks ago when he was asked a question very respectfully, do you have to take him out? He basically told the media, you're nuts. You don't know anything about basketball. Well, now I look up and Simmons come out of the game in the fourth quarter all the time. So, I mean, that's what makes – he's the point guard of a basketball team. They number the positions in point guard. Point guard's number one. That's because he's important. If you got to take your starting point guard off the floor in the fourth quarter, imagine the Trailblazers taking Dame Lillard off the floor. Phoenix taking Chris Paul off the floor. You can't take the point guard off the floor with 3 minutes to go in a close game.
I don't think that's their intention, but has it gotten to the point where he has forced them so much to do so because he has the foul shooting, Mike, right?
It's an embarrassment.
Right. The foul shooting has completely taken away the other. Like, they live with him not shooting free throws for the course of the year at 60%. But it's gotten so bad that now he won't even do the things that he excels at because he's so afraid to get to the line. And let me ask you, do you think it helps that the fans are cheering him on like a fifth grader when he gets to the line?
I think it's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing to the fan base. I always hear stuff about this fan base, this, and that. I mean, what a great home court advantage they have in Philadelphia. Well, they didn't have a home court advantage the other night. You're right. They're treating him like he's playing a rec game at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning in Linwood somewhere, basically.
Right. I mean, it's almost like
22. He's 22 for 57 from the foul line. If he makes his next 43 in a row, he's a 65% foul shooter. It's absurd.
That's a good point. It's almost akin, though, when Markelle Fultz couldn't make the three, and then he finally did, and everybody got up and cheered, and every time he touched the ball or shot the play, I said it was like that. Or you remember when the Phillies signed Pat Burrell to that huge contract, and he was hitting like 198 every time he came to the plate. They were like trying to will the guy to, like, you get the meme of the guy saying, hey, shoot, come on, you got this. When you're at that point, I don't know that you can – I think the guy has completely now lost any confidence to be able to repair this.
Here's the issue. Playoff basketball obviously is different than regular season basketball. The problem the Sixers have had ever since the Simmons-Embiid era began is in the fourth quarter of a close game, okay, a playoff game, they do not have a player who can create a shot for themselves or their teammates. Jimmy Butler did it some of the time. That's why they were able to take Toronto to 7 games, okay? But now, the first year they had it. This year they don't have it. Embiid can't do it by the nature of his position. They need to be able to throw the ball to somebody on the perimeter, and that person has to create a shot for himself or his teammates. Now, not only do they not have that guy, in Simmons, they have a guy who does not need to be guarded. So if you watched the other night, Gallinari was guarding Simmons. Gallinari is sitting below the foul line. John Collins guards Simmons. They are sitting below the foul line. You are almost playing 4-on-5. That's why their offense stalls in the fourth quarter of these playoff games.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you remember back, I know Brett Brown took a lot of heat, but the adjustments that he made was he made Jimmy Butler the point guard in those bigger situations. He essentially said someone else has to do it, and he made that adjustment and said, Butler, you're going to be the guy. And apparently Simmons was not too happy about it.
Well, it's the same thing last year when Brett Brown said, they came into the bubble and he decided that Shake Milton was going to start again because he recognized they needed somebody with an opportunity who could create a shot, off the dribble for themselves or their teammates. And Simmons can't do it. And he is a hindrance to doing it. And it is, it is a major, major, major problem.
All right. Major enough that if they were to lose this series, that Daryl Morey would pull the trigger to move him out of here.
I think, look, I said the other day we should wait until the end of the series to make a judgment, but jumping ahead and asking the question of what it is now, to me, it's a no-brainer. You've got to look to move Simmons in the offseason. You've got to look to bring in a really, really good point guard / scorer. You see the two-man game work with Seth Curry and Joel Embiid, right? You see how well it has worked. I mean, let's all remember Seth Curry was the third guy off the bench for the Dallas Mavericks last year. Imagine what that would look like, that sort of two-man game would look like if you had, let's throw out a name, Dame Lillard running it with Embiid.
I don't know why the Mavericks made that trade, by the way. I don't think it worked out too well.
Well, it didn't work out well for them because people are losing jobs right and left over there. So
unbelievable.
That trade did not do well for them.
Is there something, because we mentioned that bench unit. Yesterday, Doc Rivers hinted that they might shorten that bench unit up. Now, I thought
it's about time, right? I mean, that's Doc Rivers. What's he doing on the bench? The other night, Steve Nash shortened the bench. Kevin Durant played 48 minutes. I mean, how much more of George Hill do we have to see? I mean, shorten the bench. I mean, I hate to say it, but this is game 6. I don't know if he's physically capable of doing it, but we need Embiid for 40-plus minutes tonight.
Well, I will say, and I agree. I said that the other day, it's enough. Durant's playing 48. These guys got to play 40, 42. They did play 38, 38, 39, 38, the 4 guys other than Korkmaz, but those two
wasn't enough.
Right, those 2 or 3 extra minutes might have been the difference. I will say, he played the bench way too long, but his starters didn't give him much either.
Well, yeah, when he said they had to put him back in the game and messed up their rotations, but those bench linemen, the bench rotations, they basically gotten, they lucked into a great game from Shake Milton off the bench in game 2, and they got a good quarter from Korkmaz in game 3, I guess, off the bench. Since then, I haven't seen the bench really do much at all. I guess you would play Thibault. You're going to have to play Dwight Howard minimum minutes because Embiid's going to have to come up at some point, and I guess you might want to throw Milton out there or Maxey for a minute or two, just see if they got something special going that night. But you got to ride the starters tonight.
You starting
in this game.
You starting Korkmaz tonight?
I'm starting Korkmaz because I still think that you've got to provide some spacing on the offensive end of the floor. And if you put Thibault out there with Simmons, now you have 2 guys who won't shoot the ball.
All right, game 6 tonight, 7:30 coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN. On Monday, is it post-mortem or talking about the Eastern Conference Finals?
Wow. For some reason, I still believe in them. I mean, again, we go back to the quarter thing, right? 20 quarters these teams have played. The Sixers have been the better team in 16 of them. The key tonight is I just think it comes down to toughness. The last 2 nights, John Collins, Trae Young, and the rest of the Atlanta Hawks have been mentally tougher. Who's mentally tougher tonight, Atlanta or Philadelphia? We're going to find out because Philadelphia has the talent. Who's tougher?
If that's the criteria, we might be in trouble tonight after these first 5 games. Mike McGarry's must-win column is a really good one on Ocean City senior Joe Rapetti, who is the captain of the football, baseball, and basketball team. Check that out over at pressofatlanticcity.com at AC Press McGarry. They'll play tomorrow night for a state championship. I believe, Mike, would be the first in their school history.
First in program history. They've gotten there twice before, lost both times, but they'll have a chance tomorrow against Pascack Valley, 7 o'clock start to win the first in program history.
All right, check out Mike's piece, Must Win, at the pressofatlanticcity.com. All right, Mike, have a good weekend, man. Let's see what happens when you're back on Monday.
Exactly. Enjoy the weekend, Mike. See you later.